Didn't see you there. Well, I might as well tell you a story. Well, once upon a time there lived in Oxford a rich churl who was a carpenter by trade, but boarded paying guests. One such guest was a poor scholar who had completed part of his arts course, but loved astrology much more. He knew a number of propositions and could tell you if there would be drought or else showers, or if you asked him what could come of all sorts of things. This man was named Nicholas, and he was sly and discreet, and looked as meek as a maiden. He lived in but one room, with all his things clean and tidy, and even he himself was as sweet and clean as the look of licorice or any gentleman. The carpenter had recently married a wife whom he loved more than his life. She was 18 years of age. He kept her on a short leash, for she was wild and young, and he was old. He obviously did not hear Cato say that a man should marry someone like himself, for his wife was lovely. Her body was as graceful and slim as a weasel's. She certainly had a wanton eye. In all this world you could find no man clever enough to imagine so gay a puppet or such a wench. Her singing was as clear and lively as the notes of a barn swallow. Now it just so happened that one day this pleasant Nicholas happened to flirt and play with this young wife while her husband was in Ostend. Unless I have my will of you, sweetheart, I'm sure to die for suppressed love.
I won't kiss you, on my faith. But why let be, Nicholas, or I'll cry help, and alas! Take away your hands. Where are your manners?
This Nicholas started begging for mercy and spoke so prettily that she finally granted him her love and made her oath by St. Thomas A. Becket that she would be his to command when she could see her opportunity.
My husband is so filled with jealousy that unless you are on guard and keep it a secret, I know for sure that I'm as good as dead. Oh, you must be very discreet about this matter.
No, don't bother about that. A clerk would certainly have spent his time poorly if he couldn't fool a carpenter. And thus they agreed and promised to look out for an occasion. It just so happened that this good wife went to the parish church, and at that church there was a parish clerk named Absalom. He was a merry lad who knew how to let blood, to clip hair, and to shave, and how to draw up a charter of land or a lease. He could trip and dance 20 different ways and knew how to play a fiddle, and he could play as well on his guitar. But, to tell the truth, he was a bit squeamish about farting and trimming his speech. This Absalom went with a censer on a holy day, censing the wives of the parish zealously, and many a loving look he cast upon them, particularly on the carpenter's wife. I dare say if she had been a mouse and he a cat, he would have grabbed her right away. Hashtag night time. Absalom took his guitar, for he planned to stay up as lovers do. Forth he went lusty and amorous, till he came to the carpenter's house a little after cockcrow, and took his stand by the window. La 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 la!
Why, Allison, don't you hear Absalom singing below our chamber wall?
Yes, God knows, John. I hear every bit of it. Such things go on. What do you expect?
From day to day, Absalom wooed her. He stayed awake all night and all day. He combed his wide-spreading locks and made himself look pretty. He sang quaveringly, like a nightingale. He sent her sweetened wine, mead, spiced ale, and pastries, and offered bribes. But Allison loved pleasant Nicholas so much that Absalom could go whistle to the wind. He earned nothing but scorn for his labors. Thus she made a monkey of Absalom and turned all his seriousness into a ha-ha-ha joke. And so it happened on a Saturday that the carpenter had gone to Osney, and Nicholas and Allison agreed that Nicholas should invent himself a wily trick to fool this simple-minded, jealous husband. And if the game went right, she would sleep in his arms all night, for this was his desire, and hers too. Nicholas then very quietly carried enough food for a day or two to his room. Tell your husband that you don't know where I am, and that you hadn't laid eyes on me all day, and that you imagine that I'm sick.
Okay.
It followed that all that Saturday, and until sundown Sunday, Nicholas stayed in his room and ate and slept, or did whatever he wanted.
No.
This foolish carpenter was astonished at Nicholas, and wondered what ailed him.
By St. Thomas, I'm afraid that things aren't all right with Nicholas. God forbid that he should die suddenly. Go up and call at his door, or knock with a stone. See how matters stand, and tell me straight out. Door!
How now, what are you doing, Master Nicholas? How can you sleep all day long? Carpenter! Nicholas sat there, continually gazing up in the air, as though he were gazing at the new moon.
Help us, St. Pride's wife. This man has fallen with his astronomy into some madness or fit. I always thought it would be this way. Man shouldn't pry into the secret things of God. I sorely pity pleasant Nicholas. He shall be scolded for his studying if I can do it. By Jesus, heaven's king. Get me a staff so that I may pry underneath, while you, Robin, heave up the door.
3, 2, 1.
Ah! What, Nicholas? What? Look down. Awake and think on Christ's passion. I sign you with the cross against elves and evil creatures.
Alas, shall all this world now be lost again?
What are you saying? How now? Think on God as we do, we men who work.
Bring me something to drink, and afterwards I want to speak in private of a certain thing that concerns you and me. I won't tell it to another man, for sure.
Ale.
John, my beloved and esteemed host, you shall swear to me here on your word of honor that you will not betray this secret to any creature, for it is Christ's secret that I am going to utter. And if you tell it to anyone, you are lost, because for doing so you shall suffer this vengeance. If you betray me, you shall go mad.
No, Christ forbid it for the sake of his holy blood. I'm no blabber, no, though I say it myself, I don't like to gossip. Say what you will, I shall never tell it, child or wife, by him who harrowed hell.
Now, John, I won't lie. I have discovered in my astrology, as I was looking at the bright moon, that on Monday next, when a quarter of the night is still to go, there shall fall a rain, so wild and fierce that Noah's flood was never half so great.
Dun dun dun!
In less than an hour, this world will be drowned. So hideous will be the downpour. Thus all mankind shall drown and lose their lives.
Alas, my wife, shall she drown? Alas, my Allison, is there no remedy in this matter?
Why, yes, indeed, by God. If you will act according to learning and advice, you may not act according to your own idea. And if you will act on good advice, I promise that, without mast or sail, I shall yet save her and you and myself. Haven't you heard how Noah was saved when our Lord had forewarned him that all the world shall be lost by water?
Certainly, long ago.
Haven't you heard also of the anxiety of Noah and his companions until he could get his wife on board? I'll bet that time he would rather have had her have a ship to herself than keep all his fine black weathers. This requires haste, and about an urgent matter you mayn't preach or make delay. Go promptly, and bring right into this house a kneading trough, or else a shallow tub, for each of us, but be sure they are large ones, in which we can float as in a ship, and have in them victuals enough for a day only, fie on the rest. The water shall diminish and go away about 9 in the morning on the next day. But Robin, your servant, may not know of this, and mayn't save Jill, your maid, either. Don't ask why, for even if you do, I won't reveal God's private affairs. It is enough for you, unless you are mad, to have as great a grace as Noah had. I shall indeed save your wife, beyond a doubt. Now go your way and hurry about our business. But when, for her and yourself and me, you have got us these 3 kneading tubs, then you are to hang them high on the rafters, so that no one will spy out our preparations. And when you've done as I have said, and have stowed our victuals in them safely, and an axe too, to cut the rope in two in the water tubs, so that we may float, and when you've broken a hole high up on the gable, toward the garden and over the stable, so that we can get out freely on our way when the great day is over, then you'll float as merrily, I promise, as the white duck does after her trip. Then I'll call out, how now, Alison, How now, John? Cheer up, the flood will go away soon, and you will say, Hail, Master Nicholas, good morning, I see you well, it's light. And then we shall be thought for all our lives of all the world, like Noah and his wife. But I caution you about one thing for sure. Be well forewarned that on that same night, when we have gone on shipboard, none of us may speak a word or call or cry out, but be in prayer, for it is God's own precious command. Your wife and you must hang far apart, so that there shall be no sin between you, any more in looking than in deed. Now go, Godspeed. Tomorrow night, when everyone is asleep, we'll creep into our kneading tubs and sit there, awaiting God's grace. Now go on your way. I have no more time to make a longer sermon of this. A foolish carpenter went on his way, and he told his secret to his wife. She was aware of it, and knew better than he what all this elaborate contrivance was about to. Nevertheless, she behaved as though she thought she would die.
Alas! Go your way immediately. Help us to escape, or we are lost, each one of us. I am your faithful, true, wedded wife. Go, dear spouse, and help to save our lives.
Look what a great thing emotion is. One may die by force of imagining things, so deeply may a notion be imprinted. This foolish carpenter began to shake. He thinks in truth that he can see Noah's flood come surging like the sea to drown Alison, his honey dear. He weeps and wails and sighs with many a sorry gust. He went and got himself a kneading trough, and after that 2 tubs, and secretly sent them to his home and hugged them under his roof in privacy. With his own hands he made 3 ladders for the tubs hanging in the rafters, and victualled both trough and tubs with bread and cheese and good ale in a jug, quite sufficient for a day. On Monday, when night drew on, the carpenter shut his door without lighting any candles and arranged everything as it was supposed to be. And shortly they all 3 climbed up. They sat still for the time it takes to go a furlong. Now, Paternoster, hush!
Hush! Hush!
Without more words, Nicholas and Alison went to bed where the carpenter was wont to lie. There was revel and harmony, and thus lay Alison and Nicholas in diligence of mirth and pleasure until the bells of Louds began to ring and friars began to sing and dance. The parish clerk Absalom, who was always so woebegone for love, was at Osney on Monday to have a good time with some clerical friends, who chanced to ask a member of the order very secretly about John the carpenter. The man told him that he imagined that John went for timber, where he would stay for a day or 2. This Absalom grew frolicsome and light-hearted and thought,
now is the time to stay up all night, for surely I haven't seen him stirring since dawn. As I may thrive at cockcrow, I shall knock very secretly at the window that is quite low in the wall of his bedchamber. Now I'll tell Alison all my love sickness, for it still won't fail, at the very least that I'll kiss her. I shall have some kind of comfort for sure. My mouth has itched all this livelong day. There is a sign of kissing at least. Besides, I dreamed all night that I was at a feast. Therefore, I'll go to sleep for an hour or 2, and then stay up and amuse myself all night.
When the first cock had crowed, then rose this lusty lover Absalom, and dressed himself handsomely to perfection.
What do you, sweet honeycomb, sweet Alison, my fair bird, sweet cinnamon? Awake, my sweetheart, and speak to me. Little do you think of my woe, which is so great that I sweat upon the ground as I walk. It is no wonder that I melt and sweat. I yearn as does the lamb for the teat. Indeed, sweetheart, I have such love sickness that my morning is like that of the faithful turtle dove. I may not eat any more than a girl.
Go away from the window, Jack fool. So help me God, it won't be come kiss on me. By Jesus, Absalom, I love another a lot better than you, and otherwise I'd be to blame. Go your way, or I'll throw a stone, and let me sleep in the name of 20 devils.
Alas and alack, that ever true love was so ill used. Kiss me, then since it may be no better for Jesus' love and love of me.
Will you go your way then?
Yes, certainly, sweetheart.
Then get ready. I'm coming right now. Now keep quiet, and you shall laugh your fill. Come on and do it quickly, so that our neighbors won't see you.
Ah!
But Absalom knew something was wrong, for women don't have beards.
Fie, alas! What have I done?
By God's body, this goes nicely.
I'll pay you back. I'll give my soul to Satan. If I wouldn't rather be revenged for this insult than have all this town.
His hot love had turned cold and was all quenched, for from the time that he had kissed her arse, he didn't care a jot for a woman's love, for he was cured of his love sickness.
Open up, Gervais. Right away.
What? Who are you?
It's me, Absalom.
How now, Absalom? God Christ's cross. Why do you rise so early? Bless us. What's wrong with you? Some pretty girl, God knows, has got you on the prowl this way. By St. Neot, you know well what I mean.
Dear friend, that hot coulter at the chimney there. Lend it to me. I have something I want to do with it, and I'll return it to you very soon.
Oh, certainly. If it were gold or uncounted nobles in a bag, you should have it, as I am an honest man. The devil. What will you do with it?
Concerning that, let it be as it may. I'll tell you indeed tomorrow. Knock, 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 knock.
Who dare knock me so hard? It's a thief, I warn.
Why, no. God knows, sweet love. I'm your Absalom, my darling. I've brought you a gold ring. My mother gave it to me. God save me, it's very fine. And well engraved, too. I'll give it to you if you'll kiss me.
Nicholas had risen to urinate and thought she would improve on the joke. Absalom should kiss his arse before escaping.
Speak, sweet bird. I don't know where you are. Ah!
Help! Water! Water! Help! For God's heart!
Ah, the water's come. I'd better cut the rope.
The neighbors high and low ran in to gape at this man who still lay in a faint, pale and wan, for he had broken his arm with the fall. But he had to take for his own mishap, for when he spoke he was soon put down by pleasant Nicholas and Allison. They told everyone that he was mad. The people set to laughing at his delusion. They feared and gaped up at the roof and turned all his misfortune into a joke. For whatever the carpenter said in answer, it did no good. No one listened to his explanation. He was considered mad throughout the town. Thus was the carpenter's wife screwed, in spite of all his guarding and jealousy, and Absalom has kissed her lower eye, and Nicholas is scalded on the bum. This pet is done, and God save the company. Woo! Is that my pencil?
No.
Is it? That's my pencil!
No, no.
That's my pencil! Oh, God!
Always look on the bright side of life.